Hey everyone, so what we're going for is a blacksmith today, and I know you're looking at this picture and saying, wait a second, none of those figures have bases, but bear with me 1 second, you'll see in the video. First, let me thank the awesome YouTubers who helped get me started in 3D printing and who basically taught me everything I know from watching their videos. And with that, let's jump right in. So this blacksmith that you saw the picture of, what if he was on a base? Because the figure does come based and unbased. I always print my figures unbased when I can. In fact, I even slice bases off, but I know not everyone wants to do that. So you're looking at this figure from Vevictus Patreon. I'll put a link in the description in case anyone's interested. They make some really cool models, mostly actually supportless. Anyway, so I'm giving you the pen around. And you know the base is not huge compared to him, so that makes it a little easier. But what we're going to look at is how do I base models, support models when they have the base. So first we're going to lift it up, we're going to rotate it. This model, if I rotate it too much, it's going to need a lot more supports, because right now, being that is honestly almost a supportless model, the more I tilt it back, the more it starts to require supports. So I'm just going to tilt it a little bit to make sure no part of that base is creating too much suction. If I tilt it back that much, I'm going to have to support a ton of spots. I never tilt like this, although you can, but I think a lot of people end up damaging parts of the model that you'll see if you tilt it too much, because your support placement tends to be then in spots you can actually see. So now I went back to my normal angle, which might be 10 or 15 degrees. As always, just a quick refresher, you go to the lowest part of the model and start whacking it with some heavies. Right, and again, the key thing we focus on with each model is anything's better than a failure. So better to over support than under support and have a failure. So I always, that first layer of pixels, I don't trust it. I just support everywhere. As we go on, I can just space them out nicely. This part of the video, this is me just being OCD, and I can't leave it unsupported, even though it's not the point of the video. Bear with me about 10 more seconds. Just whacking some random supports in there to make sure that this base doesn't fail. And I would actually go back and add a few lights even after that. But anyway, let's talk about what we came to talk about today is now, how do I support areas on this model that need support? Some of them, if they're hanging over the back of the base, then it's easy, right? If I click the support, you'll see that, and there's no real islands here. I'm just looking at areas that really do need support. So let's just go and pretend that that is a total island, or even if it isn't, I would support this anyway, actually. So that support drops off the base. That's easy. It's no-brainer. So obviously supporting almost everything in the back is fine. Here I'm just editing it to make sure I move it just far enough away from the base. I want to make sure it doesn't bond to the base, because then if my base is ruined, I don't like that either. So I'd rather not. So let's say there's something that needs support, though, that was over another part of the model. And here I'm just mousing over real quick. There's no real islands there. But let's say, hey, that part of the boot, since I tilted it back, actually could use support. And it's really close to the base here. So if I get into a situation, I'm going to show this a little later, if I get into a situation where I really can't avoid it, I will drop a support to the base, but we'll talk about that in a minute or two. When I don't want it to ruin my base, let's say I'm just going to paint my base one coat, I'm not going to put dirt on it and grass, because I don't like burying my figure's feet. So usually if I'm going to do that to a base, I want my figure up a little bit so I can see his feet. So let's pretend we're just painting the base. So I drop a support onto the base itself, then edit it off. Now it's still touching here. Can't have that. So you click on the ball joint and you just move it up to change the angle of the support. Then go back in and make sure the support's in the right spot. You move it around just to make sure it's where you want it. I don't want it too far to the right there, because when I take it off, it might break off part of that boot and you'll see it. And if I put it too close, it'll bond to the inner part of the boot, and that might also cause some damage. So it's really important you fiddle with the placement. Make sure you get it as far away from all other points that you don't want it to touch or bond to. And now if I go something higher, I do the same thing. I just drop a heavy all the way down there. So I usually like to support an arm like this. And I just drag it up. And we have good clearance. We don't have to worry about anything here. But if we did, you could always edit it by the ball joint, or just click on the base. Here I'm doing, click on the base like this and just wiggle it around. Move it anywhere you want to get the proper angle, get the proper separation from the base, so you just avoid any damage. Now let's talk about the middle. Let's say you have the support in there. And again, let's say I'm just painting this base with one coat, so I don't want to damage my base at all. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop my support onto a support down there, lift up my ball, and then just drag it over. Let's say that's the point I need to support. Now this is very horizontal, so I'm going to lower the ball, because this might fail this support. I'm not really liking this. So when this happens, I look, is there another part of the model that has a better angle to get into the spot I want to? So I see over here as I rotate around, This might work better. So I'm going to drop my support there, drag it to the exact same spot, then angle my ball joint, then take a look. Oh yeah, this support looks way better, right? So what I do is, as I move around the model and look for ways to support it, I look for the best way to support, not just the first way I see, because this second support I just placed is way better than that first one. Now, when I get into that situation where either I can't angle it from off the model, let's say there's other stuff, intervening stuff blocking me from placing it. Here I'm just dropping support onto support just to show you how to, keep it off the base again. But let's say we get in that situation where you actually have to, let's say either you're going to put sand and dirt and all kind of cool stuff on your base, and you actually don't mind if some of the supports drop on your base. Then what you can do is you can actually drop a support onto the base itself, because you're going to be covering it up. So you don't care if there's a pit or a pot there, but you're putting some flock there. What's the difference? On a model like this, I don't do that, because if I do that, his feet will kind of be buried. So if I was going to do that, I would chop the model off this base. Maybe I'd even print two little circles on the base for him to stand on, and then so it'd be lifted up, and then go and do that. So if I have to drop, let's say underneath here, let's say I had to support this. See there, it's onto my base. Already it's bothering me. I hate that. But anyway, it's going to cause minimal damage there. It's not too bad. But of course, I don't like that. But let's say you had to do it again, or you didn't care. One of the things you can do to minimize damage is what we're going to do is we're going to play with contact points. Here I'm just showing you the base that I don't want too much damage there normally, because I don't necessarily flock all of my bases. So let's say this one on the left here. Now it's touching my model, which I hate. But let's say you had to put a support there. What you can do is, well, first I'm going to remove it, because that's what I would normally do. But let's say you couldn't do that. Let's say you absolutely had to drop it there. You couldn't edit a support onto there. There's just no way to do it. So what you do is, you don't want it touching there, but you need the support there, right? So you edit it and you drag that leg off. So you can drag the individual contact points on the bottom of the model of the support and drag it off of where you don't want it to be. The other thing you can do is, this is what I actually do. It's the rare time I go to the bottom settings, change the contact point to 1. Now watch, when I put that support back, it's got, as you would guess, 1 leg on the bottom instead of 3. So it's a lot easier to control, and also you can even edit that. So let's edit that and move it further from the foot. Boom. So now you have a little less damage on the bottom. You still have a support you can edit. It's not going to be the greatest support in the world, but hopefully you're using these in a spot where you need minimal support. It works even if you need more support. But usually, if it's really a spot you can't get to for any reason, my guess is it's probably not supporting that much material in the end. Otherwise, I think it would somehow be more accessible. At least I haven't run across that on a model where there's a spot I couldn't get to and it was supporting a ton of material. And if I ever do, then I would just use the same technique, but I might use a heavy support instead. It'll work exactly the same. So that's about it for this. I hope you subscribe, hope you learned something. Thanks a lot for watching, everyone.